wonder if it just is because they've been picked on the top.
Okay, this is what we call our demonstration vineyard. All this vineyard here and way down below and right around the corner. When we go into the cellar, you'll see some more vineyards. We've got about 160 kilometers from Kelowna down to Oliver and Osoyoos that we ranch. Now, on from the prairies, we ranch cows and we ranch grain. I think ranching wine's pretty good, don't you? I'd rather do that. So up here in Kelowna, even on our beautiful days, it's a little cooler here than down south in Oliver and Osoyoos. That's about 160 kilometers down. You see, Oliver and Osoyoos, that is the end of the Sonoran Desert up from the Baja. So it's really desert. And that's where our reds just love it. Cabernet Sauvignon, Shiraz, Syrah, Petit Verdot, all of the reds just do great there. Here, up at this end, this is Pinot Noir, and it usually does better farther down. This is just for you to see. But we have Pinot Blanc, Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc. All the whites from here down to Naramata do really good here. Now you have to remember that John Symes has a big job to do, and we have to have 165 frost-free days. So that, the little grape came from the Mediterranean a long time ago, where it's beautiful and warm, and the winters are mild. And when it came to Canada, it had a little culture shock, I'll bet you, because we have to have 165 frost-free days. Usually bud break. Now bud break is when the first little showing of green comes from the nodes here in the springtime. Just a tiny little green, we call that bud break. And that's usually the beginning of April. But this year was towards the end of April before we saw any sign of growth, so we're way behind. Now John Symes, he sets the parameter for what's going to happen all year in February. When it's still cool here, the plants are dormant, they're sleeping. He goes out with his crew and they do the initial pruning to cut back all the canes and all the debris from the winter. That's the job that sets the parameter for what's going to happen until the crop comes in, as it's coming in now. You see, he has to order the barrels from the oak from France. The barrels get made in Napa, and then he has to set out the floor plans and all this stuff they have to do. In March and April, the sap starts to rise, and in April we have bud break, if the season's on time. That's the first show of green. In May and June, the plant continues to grow, and the leaves on the trellises are starting to grow, and the canes are really green. Now they're brown red, but they're really green at that time. And the beginning of June, about usually the first 2 weeks in June, we have floraison. That's the flowering of the grape. All these grapes were great big clusters of flowers, white and yellow flowers. And for 10 months, they 10 days or 2 weeks, they pollinate. They self-pollinate themselves. They're male and female. And then all of a sudden in the neighborhood, I just live a few doors down, and when these guys are pollinating, all of a sudden you have that fluffy yellow dust floating everywhere on your patio furniture and everything. And then the wine master will come and take a look, and he'll say, oh, you see all these little green little bumps sticking through where the flowers were. And he says, we've got fruit set. That means they pollinated. So then they're happy at that time. July, if we're having an extremely hot summer, which we can have here, they will do what they call vertical shoot trellising. They'll take the canes and they'll have them, they'll bind them to the wires here, and they'll let the leaves fall over really heavily to protect the fruit from the intense sunshine, so that the fruit doesn't ripen too quickly, because that can be a real problem in winemaking. But as you can see, they've cut back the leaves this year because we don't have enough sunshine. You see how the fruit's exposed? They've cut back all the trellises at the top here too, so the nutrition goes into the fruit, not into the overgrowth. August usually is what we call veraison, the ripening of the grape. All of August, the grape's supposed to be ripening. And believe me, they really tried hard this year. We can't blame the poor little grape, but you can't mess around with Mother Nature. There's nothing you can do, right? September is usually pick time. We started about the 3rd week in September, I guess, for our whites. I haven't talked to the wine master, but I don't even think we're picking the reds yet in Oliver and Osoyoos, so we're just hoping we don't get a frost or something happens here. Then, when the fruit is gone, when the cluster is gone off of the cane, we have leaf fall. The leaves start to turn brown and they fall. It's defoliation. And the plant starts going to sleep. The sap's starts going down the cordon. This is the cordon or the root. And what we do, we give them a good overhead irrigation and wash them down, and they go to sleep. And then later in the fall, probably early November, they will do buttage. They put soil around the roots with all the compost and everything that they've accumulated all summer, just to protect the roots. So that cycle goes on every year, and the only variable is Mother Nature. So does anyone have any questions? Oh, you guys are good students. My goodness.
Employees, how many employees are there to cover all this?
There's about 400 regular employees. Yeah, and they're seasonal workers too. See, like for myself, I just work a few months in the summertime here and meet all you good people and have fun. It's really cool.
So do they hire pickers in just for picking?
Yes, we have a lot of regulars that come back.